As a phenomenon of unknown origin threatens the nation, the agency established to investigate it begins crumbling from within. In Authority, that's the book I'm reviewing. On this episode of SFF180, hello everybody, TMW here once again. Thank you so much for joining me. The Southern Reach trilogy, I think, Jeff VanderMeer's newest work, is poised to become one of the most important science fiction releases of 2014, even though it owes its allegiance more towards the rules of weird fiction than hard science fiction. Hard science fiction, the whole point of it, is to find out answers, right? We are in control. We can understand and comprehend this vast universe around us. There is no mystery so great that we can't get a handle on it. But here, in the Southern Reach trilogy, each subsequent book drives us further and further into paranoia and disorientation than the one before it. To get an idea of what this series is like, imagine if Franz Kafka and David Lynch had decided to collaborate on the X-Files and then gotten story notes from H.P. Lovecraft saying, guys, needs more madness, more madness. Now again, the whole trilogy is about the investigation of Area X, a bordered off section of the coastal landscape where 30 years before, a completely inexplicable phenomenon locked this away from the rest of the world. And within the borders of Area X, nature has gone mad in strange and very sinister and seemingly purposeful ways. Now, while all of Annihilation took place within the borders of Area X, Authority takes place out in the real world, and specifically the headquarters of the Southern Reach. This is the agency that has been established and has been in place for 30 years to investigate Area X specifically. Now, following the disastrous expedition that was chronicled in Annihilation, John Rodriguez, who goes by the codename Control, has been sent to Southern Reach in order to kind of, well, he's a fix-it man, basically, but the idea is find out what happened, get everything back on track. And while it's pretty clear that this is a near-future United States in which all of this stuff is happening, it doesn't seem like the United States really is the United States any longer. The only governing body we hear anything about has this strangely Orwellian kind of monolithic name of Central. And Control, well, as you see, this is a world of call signs and code names replacing individuality. Rodriguez is only ever called Control, even by the other people that he works with at the Southern Reach. The idea is driven home that all you are in this society is a cog in a machine, you've got a job to do, and you have no right to expect anything in return from the people you're working for. Now, stories like this that deal in mystery piled upon mystery piled upon mystery, they're very, very difficult to pull off. And you do have to give your audience some payoffs at certain points. Now, VanderMeer wisely does this. He fills in some blanks, he gives you answers, he parcels them out. The answers open up new questions, but you do at least have the satisfaction of feeling like there is forward progress being made. Now, for one criticism that the X-Files TV show was heaped with in its latter seasons was that it just felt like after a certain point it was going on and on and on and never really getting anywhere. But here, VanderMeer treats you a lot better. At the Southern Reach, Control is met by the assistant director, who is immediately hostile to him. She treats him actually with this sort of cold, professional, cordial hostility that essentially says, I don't like you, I'm only doing what you say because I'm being told to do this. I will happily derail anything you're doing if I can. And the other staff members, clearly this is a massive organization, but he only interacts with a few people. The offices have this strangely deserted sense to them. The smell of the cleaning fluid is something that is always referred to. No one appears to be really playing with the full deck the more he gets to know them. And he begins to discover more and more secrets. For example, the director of the Southern Reach, who is missing, actually led the expedition chronicled in Annihilation as its psychologist. Now, here's an example of a storytelling stroke that VanderMeer does right at the beginning of the book that I think underscores his brilliance in how he's approaching the whole thing. Right from the first few pages, with our memory of the first book, it is immediately obvious we know something that no other character knows. We know one single fact. Control doesn't know it, no one else at the Southern Reach knows it. But Jeff VanderMeer doesn't feel like he needs to rub our noses in that. He doesn't foreground it. He doesn't make an issue of it. He simply progresses with his story. He trusts our intelligence as the audience to fill in that blank and go, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. What's going on? What does this mean? This is how the book builds. It's a slow burn. There are never really any big eureka pow-pow moments. There is just this undercurrent of unease that you are swept along into what is essentially one big bad dream that just gets weirder and worse and stranger and more threatening. But Authority also pulls off the extremely impressive feat of not being merely a rehash of Annihilation, through very subtle changes not only in his stylistic choices, but his whole approach to the narrative architecture of each book. Authority ends up inhabiting the same kind of haunted psychological landscape that Annihilation inhabited, but it still manages to come across very much as its own thing. To be honest, this kind of storytelling is not for everyone. It's very demanding, but it, again, by respecting your intelligence, rewards the effort that you have to put into it to fully grasp all of its nuances. The main risk right now that VanderMeer runs is possibly in disappointing us with the climax, with Book 3, due in September. Simply because he has set the bar of expectations so high with the first two, that anything that is less than earth-shattering in its revelations is probably going to seem a bit like a letdown. But I have a feeling that he is going to simply progress along the path that he has been. Everything is going to be completely unpredictable and yet make total sense when you take it all in context. But at least that's what I'm hoping. Still, so far, VanderMeer is 2 for 2, and the Southern Reach trilogy, again, I think is going to become one of the most important releases in the science fiction field for this year. So give it a try if you're in the mood for something that will haunt you for many days afterwards. And that's all I got time for this episode of SFF180. Thank you once again for joining me. Remember, everybody, the most important thing, these are reviews. You will not always agree with me, but if you enjoy watching, please like, share, and sub to the channel. Help the channel grow. And until I see all of you next time, happy reading.